Let's build.
Next time, don't have me to open my mouth until you have this thing.
My name is Yves Darbouze, and this is the Pan-African Product. The Pan-African Product is a piece of content that deciphers, mitigates, distills the information in this book. Leave, Operationalizing a Pan-African State. A book that I wrote because I'm tired of seeing little babies that look like me toil in the mine. I'm tired of saying, what can I do when I see the struggles of Somalian people and the people of Sudan? I can only do it from the perspective of what I know how to do. I can't all of a sudden become George Jackson. I have to handle revolution in where my skill set. The academics do it. They write books. I'm what's called a data-driven, agile product manager. I build systems. I figure out what the market wants, what customers want, and I make the vision of these corporations come true. I want to be able to save my people from a sincere place. I can't all of a sudden be a teacher or a spiritual leader. None of those. If I'm not even a revolutionary truly, but I know it sounds technocratic, and that probably is the right definition. But I want to bring to the table what my skill is able to discern, what my talent. I want to lay it at the feet of the cause, of the Pan-African cause, and so my descendants could look back and say that old Pops said something at a time when it wasn't popular to say things, at a time that it almost sounds crazy. Go back to Africa. Is you crazy? I'm not crazy. The core part of our solution is called the AERO, the African Economic Resource Opportunity. This currency is both utility token, or you don't have to use the token, and it is a commodity, right? We'll talk about the commodity part in a second. We'll come back to that. Let's talk about the utility first. A utility means that it has a function, it has a need. And in the sense of the AERO, if you want to be able to access the iridium, the cobalt, right? The gold, the diamonds, yeah, we have that, right? But to truly be an avatar of African wealth, you have to use all of it. The oil, the bauxite, right? All of this has value. And the foolish thing would be to do where it's gone wrong before, and is to decide to nationalize it all. That's not what we're gonna do. We'll let our member nations decide if it's nationalized or not. If we'll probably develop tools to be able to go and find and prospect on minerals, but we'll never nationalize or take over a mine. The reason why is friction, right? We do not want friction. We want all of this to work together and want to work together, which is why we've devised it in this way. If you acquire any of these things at the point of the transaction, right? Let's do it this way. The transaction operates like this. If you want to access any of this, right? Back and forth. If you want to access any of African wealth, if it's found underneath the ground, it belongs to all of the African people, right? But you own the mine. You are the seller. You are the receiver, right? But when any of these people want to be able to offer you dollars, we'll take the dollars. This is yuan or yen. We'll take them. The euro, we'll take them. The rubles, we'll take them. The rupees, all of these, when they want to acquire any of this, right? When you want to buy some iridium, you want to buy African cobalt, coltan, right? We can add that over here. We're gonna need that, right? We're gonna need your lumber. We're gonna need your agriculture. Africa will be the basket, or the bread basket, as they say, of the world. And it won't be bread, it'll be fruits, it'll be vegetables, it'll be natural and organic foods. Because we've got 60% of the world's arable land. A Pan-African state would save the world. You'll hear me say that 100 times, and because it's true. But back to this part of how this thing functions. At the point of transaction, any of these currencies, most of the standard currencies are presented. The money travels in two places. One goes to the receiver. They receive arrows. The Pan-African Central Bank, on the other hand, receives the foreign currency, is stored. Right? The reason you store the foreign currency is because if the receiver or a holder of an arrow wants dollars, right? You want dollars, you want euros, you want pesos, rupees, they're all here, right? But if you want these, you will be charged a fee, right? And that's the receiver pays that, not the buyer. We want no, right? Friction. Friction is the devil. We want transactions to be smooth. So the acquirer, the person who wants to have access to the coltan, to the lumber, to the agriculture, to the cotton, right? You want to come see our pyramids? You got to have arrows. That's right. You want to come visit our land? All Africa should benefit. And everyone, it's a two-way street. Sometimes you're giving, sometimes other nations are giving, but all this together potentially makes you the richest nation in the world, right? So on the utility side, you need the AERO to perform these transactions. The AERO is the utility token that gives you access and avatar to wealth of Africa, right? And then on the other side, the euro is a commodity token. What does that mean? That means it's finite, right? It's finite. That means there has to be an amount that you mint at the beginning, and that is the only amount that it'll ever be. In this methodology, we say $500 trillion, right? That commodity must be finite, and it must represent something tangible, right? We are not going to just introduce $500 trillion worth of tokens on Africa. No, you basically are thinking of it in this way. Every year, African nations make about 10 trillion in GDP. It'll make a whole lot more, but let's say we took that number and said over the next 50 years, we disseminate this 10 trillion to the budget, right? Our currency wouldn't be pegged to the dollar. It's just we use it as a measuring tool. We use it as to figure out value because the dollar is the most stable. Everyone knows what the dollar is worth, even though it's down between 11 and 13% as the time of recording. So again, the AERO is a commodity. A commodity is finite. The resources of Africa is finite. Is it worth 500 trillion? That's a story we tell. It's worth somewhere in there. Over the next 50 years, $10 trillion a year will be released into the African budget to build roads, to pay for schools, to give UBI, not universal basic income, Ubuntu basic income. It means that I'm nothing without you. And because of it, we share. We're not necessarily communists. We're Kwame and Nkrumah socialists. But this is the way that we can represent our wealth internationally. We have to understand that we will always be under attack. And the moment we say we're a socialist country, all of a sudden we have to deal with people who have the delusion that socialism is some kind of boogeyman. So they can call it whatever they want. But this is inarguable market measurements of currency. This is real. And like I said in the beginning, your currency is a story that it tells. If it's not backed by gold, what is it backed by? The full wealth and military of the United States government. That's their value. Our value is not based off of that. The value of the AERO is based off of this story. Do you believe in 50 years people will still need iridium? Do you believe in 50 years people will still need cobalt, diamonds, coltan, iridium, gold, lumber, agriculture, bauxite? You get it? Cotton. Do you think in 50 years people will still want to see the pyramids? I say yes. So the utility is secure. The utility of what our currency should do is is secure. But then the other fact that it is a commodity, this is the way that Bitcoin is measured. Bitcoin too, because it is finite, right? It passes the Howey test, right? Right. The Howey test is a test to see if something is a commodity. You don't want your currency to be a commodity. People investing in it like it is gold. It's not. You can trade the AERO for the mineral that you're talking about. Yes, you can go and get the exact value of gold, right? That is true. But the Howey test wants to know, is it finite? Are you promising, value that has nothing to do with supply and demand, right? The AERO would pass the Howey test. And therefore, most of the currency governing bodies would make it undeniable. That's what we also want to do here. We want to be able to tell a story that everybody understands. The AERO, right? The African economic, resource opportunity. The reason why this will work is because it cannot be questioned by the other governing bodies. And this is undeniable, right? This tells you everything. Do people want it? Do you believe in 50 years people will still need? And the answer is, that's the worst yes ever. It almost looks like I'm spelling my name. The answer is yes. Do you believe in 50 years people will still need these things that back your currency? And the way we prove this is what we're doing. The Pan-African GDP is right now about $11 trillion. All of them, all put together. So this 500 trillion is, and I'm just kind of saying it here, it's 10 trillion US dollars over 50 years. See, that's the formula right there. 10 trillion over 50 years, right? We're not playing about this. In the book, you get a much clearer and deeper explanation. But I went in. I designed it. There's my Kwame Nkrumah $1 bill. I know this is not the best way to show this. There we go. That's a little bit better. And there's a few. There's the Winnie Mandela. You got to put Malcolm on the 20. That's mandatory, right? Like, you got to put Malcolm on the 20. On my website, I'll put a link to the color versions of those, or I'll post them on social media. But this is the way. I want to keep these short and sweet, and I'm almost hitting a half hour, which I didn't want, but I'm going to explain more of the operations of the Pan-African Central Bank. It's going to be my next video after this one. But this is proven. I've had 5 different economists look at this. This is baby economics. This is not even super hyper complicated, no matter how much my whiteboard session looks like it. You have to find an avatar for African wealth, because we all know Africa is wealthy. How do we express that wealth? We express that wealth with our currency, right? With the AERO, the African Economic Resource Opportunity, right? Both utility and commodity. It'll work, but we'll keep talking about it. We'll get there, folks. We'll get there. For the Pan-African product, my name is Yves Darbouze. And subscribe, do all that jazz, and I'll keep breaking this thing down. Peace.